Let me just say one thing. Just before I became a Christian, one of the main reasons I was thinking of not becoming a Christian was actually because of one of these issues. There was a girl I liked a lot. She was a model. I had a feeling that if I became a Christian, God was going to interfere in the plans that I had in relationship to her. And I can remember thinking, if I become a Christian, I'm just going to become a hypocrite. And I really don't want that to happen to me. And I can remember the day after, as soon as I became a Christian, I can remember thinking, what am I going to tell everybody if they ask me why I'm so different? And I thought I'll say nothing for a couple of weeks while I think of an answer to that question. The very first person I met who wasn't a Christian after I became a Christian was this girl. And she looked at me and she said, there's something different about you, what is it? And I remember saying, well, I became a Christian yesterday. And she said, what does that mean? And I said, I'm not sure. All I know for sure is that God has completely changed me because of Jesus. And she leant forward, she looked at me and she said, do you want to sleep with me? And I remember looking at her saying, if you'd asked me this question 36 hours ago, the answer would have been yes. I said, but today the answer is no. And I remember being really surprised by my answer because at that point I didn't feel disappointed. So there are just a couple of things to say here. As Sam has already said so well, real relationships, real intimacy in relationships is not the same as being physically intimate. There's a difference between relational intimacy and physical intimacy. And what we enjoy in relationships with other people is primarily that relational intimacy. And so when you're going out with someone, there is a reason to hold back from sleeping with them, which is to get to know them as a person, connect with them as a person, not as someone who you can use to fulfill your desires, but someone whom you get to know and actually connect with, which is why I think it's one of the reasons why the Bible talks about having sex, after marriage. If you're in a committed long-term relationship, with someone of the opposite sex, then my suggestion is get married. And then see what comes. Because whatever you do, at some point that relationship's going to get really hard. So whatever relationships you're in are going to get hard at some point. And at that point, you need to be committed to see it through. And that's the promise you make when you get married. Now, if you watch the movies in marriage, they ask a question, do you take this man to be your husband? Do you take this woman to be, they ask this question. And the response in the movies is, I do. Except that is not the liturgy of the church. The church liturgy is, will you take this man? Will you take this woman? And you respond, I will. To say I do is a statement of fact. To say I will is a commitment of the will. You're saying, I will do this and I will continue to do this no matter how hard it gets. So that commitment of the will is a very important process, and it's partly how we have a relationship.